Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. Grace settled into the seat, smoothing her black pencil skirt. Did you see the email from corporate? Which one? The mandatory wellness seminar or the new parking restrictions? Neither. The dress code update. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her messages. Starting Monday, all employees must maintain professional business attire. No jeans, no t-shirts, proper business wear only. Nico groaned and rubbed his temples. You've got to be kidding me. I haven't worn a tie since... Actually, I can't remember the last time. Well, you better find one. They're serious about this. Henderson from accounting got written up yesterday for wearing khakis instead of dress pants. This is ridiculous. The company's circling the drain and they're worried about what we wear? He gestured at his casual attire. I've dressed like this for 20 years. My work speaks for itself. Grace leaned forward, lowering her voice. Between you and me, I think they're looking for reasons to let people go before the next round of layoffs. Easier to fire someone for violating policy than pay severance. The realization hit like a punch to the gut. They were trying to push him out before his retirement kicked in. Nico's jaw clenched as he considered his options. Thanks for the heads up, Grace. I appreciate it. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. For what it's worth, I know how hard these transitions can be. When I first started presenting as myself at work, I thought the world would end. But sometimes change surprises you. After she left, Nico stared at the dress code email on his computer screen. The policy outlined acceptable attire in excruciating detail. Suits, dress shirts, ties, dress shoes for men. For women, the list included blouses, skirts, dresses, and dress pants. An idea began to form, ridiculous at first, then growing more appealing as he considered the angles. That evening, he called Grace from his car in the parking garage. Hypothetically, he began without preamble, what would happen if I showed up in a skirt on Monday? Silence stretched across the line before Grace responded. Are you serious? Dead serious. The policy says employees must wear professional attire. It lists options for men and women, but it doesn't explicitly state that men must wear men's clothing. Nico, that's actually kind of brilliant. If they fire you for it, that's clear gender discrimination. But are you really prepared for that? He thought about his dwindling retirement fund, the 6 months standing between him and financial security. I need to make it 6 more months, Grace. If wearing a skirt keeps me employed and builds a potential lawsuit case, then so be it. Well, if you're serious about this, you'll need to do it right. Half measures won't work. You show up in an ill-fitting skirt with hairy legs, they'll claim you're not following the spirit of professional attire. What are you suggesting? Come shopping with me Saturday. If you're going to do this, let's make sure they can't find a single violation in their own policy. Saturday morning found them at a department store downtown. Grace navigated the racks with practiced ease while Nico followed, increasingly aware of how out of place he felt in the women's section. Navy blue, Grace announced, holding up a knee-length pencil skirt. Conservative, professional, and it'll match your existing dress shirts. This is insane, he muttered, but took the skirt anyway. No, insane would be letting them cheat you out of your retirement. This is strategic. Try these too. She handed him 2 more skirts, one black, one charcoal gray. In the fitting room, Nico stared at his reflection. The navy skirt fit well enough, falling just below his knees. His hairy legs looked absurd beneath the hem. How's it going in there? Grace called. I look ridiculous. Let me see. He reluctantly emerged, and Grace circled him with a critical eye. The fit's good, but you're right about the legs. You'll need to shave if you want this to work. Shave my legs? Think about it. If they can claim you're not presenting professionally, they might have grounds to discipline you despite the technical compliance. But if you follow every aspect of professional women's attire, they've got nothing. He nodded slowly. All right, what else? They spent the rest of the morning shopping. Grace selected appropriate blouses, white, cream, and light blue, all in conservative cuts. She insisted on proper undergarments, explaining that visible lines or poor fit would undermine the professional appearance. By the time they finished, Nico had a week's worth of outfits. One more stop, Grace announced, steering him toward a shoe store. I have dress shoes. Men's dress shoes. You need pumps. Nothing too high, maybe 2 inches. You want professional, not provocative. An hour later, he walked unsteadily out of the store in black pumps with a modest heel. The sensation was foreign, forcing him to adjust his gait and posture. Sunday night, Nico stood in his bathroom, razor in hand. The absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on him, a nearly 60-year-old engineer about to shave his legs for the first time. But 6 months. He just needed 6 more months. The process took longer than expected. By the time he finished, his legs felt strange, smooth and sensitive in a way he'd never experienced. He applied the moisturizer Grace had recommended and laid out his outfit for the morning. Navy skirt, white blouse, black pumps. Monday arrived too quickly. Nico dressed carefully, fumbling with the side zipper on the skirt and struggling to button the blouse. Why were the buttons on the wrong side? The pumps felt precarious, but he managed to walk to his car without stumbling. The parking garage seemed longer than usual, each click of his heels echoing off the concrete. At the elevator, he caught his reflection in the polished doors. From the waist up, he looked like himself. Brown hair neatly combed, clean-shaven face, familiar features. Below that, the navy skirt and smooth legs created a jarring contrast. "Morning, Mr. Rossini," the security guard said without looking up from his newspaper. "Morning, Carl." Carl glanced up, did a double take, then returned to his paper without comment. Nico's heart pounded as he waited for the elevator. The engineering floor buzzed with typical Monday morning energy. Conversation stopped as he walked past, heels clicking on the tile floor. By the time he reached his office, a small crowd had gathered by the coffee machine, all pretending not to stare. "Nice legs, boss," someone called out, followed by nervous laughter. Nico turned, expecting mockery, but found only genuine amusement. "Thanks. The policy said professional attire. I'm nothing if not compliant." Grace appeared at his door within minutes, coffee in hand. "Well, you certainly made an entrance. How are you feeling?" "Like I'm wearing a costume." He sat carefully, still adjusting to the skirt. But no one seemed scandalized. Give it time. Management hasn't made their rounds yet. Sure enough, around 10 o'clock, his supervisor knocked on the door. Richard Palmer entered, took one look at Nico's attire, and paused. "Nico? Interesting interpretation of the dress code." "I followed it to the letter, Richard. Professional attire, as specified." Richard's jaw worked as he processed the situation. "While technically compliant, I'm not sure this is what corporate had in mind. The policy doesn't specify gender-based clothing requirements. I checked. Multiple times. I'll need to discuss this with HR." "Please do. I'll be here, doing my job in my policy-compliant attire." Richard left without another word. Nico expected to be called into a meeting within the hour, but lunch came and went without incident. His team adapted quickly, treating him no differently than before. If anything, productivity seemed higher. Perhaps everyone was focused on work to avoid addressing the elephant in the room. Tuesday, he wore the black skirt with a cream blouse. Wednesday, charcoal gray with light blue. By Thursday, the novelty had worn off for most of his colleagues. The heels still challenged him, but he'd developed a steady gait that prevented stumbling. Friday afternoon, Grace stopped by his office. "So, 1 week down, what's the verdict?" "Surprisingly anticlimactic. I expected more pushback." "Maybe that's the problem. If you're trying to provoke a response that gives you leverage, you might need to escalate." "Escalate how?" Grace studied her manicured nails. Deep red today, matching her lipstick. "Well, you're following the dress code, but only partially. Professional women's attire includes more than just clothes." "You're suggesting makeup?" "I'm suggesting that if you're going to play this game, play to win. Right now, you're in limbo. Not quite masculine, not quite feminine. It's easy for them to ignore. But if you fully embrace professional women's presentation, they'll have to respond." "Exactly. Either they accept it, which protects you from discrimination claims, or they react badly and give you ammunition." That weekend, Nico found himself back at the department store with Grace, venturing into previously uncharted territory, the cosmetics section. Start simple, Grace advised, selecting products with practiced ease. Foundation to even skin tone, mascara to define the eyes, lipstick for color, nothing dramatic. I don't know the first thing about applying this stuff. YouTube University, my friend. That's how I learned. Plus, I'll give you some pointers. They spent Sunday afternoon in his apartment, Grace demonstrating basic makeup techniques. The face staring back from the mirror looked softer, more polished, but still recognizably his own. What about my hair? He touched his short brown locks. It's not exactly feminine. One step at a time. See how this goes first. Monday morning's preparation took significantly longer. The makeup application felt foreign, foundation smoothed across his skin, mascara carefully applied to avoid poking his eye, lipstick in a subtle pink shade. The result was understated but undeniably feminine. This time, the reactions were more pronounced. Conversations didn't just pause, they stopped entirely. Carl, the security guard, did a double take so dramatic he spilled his coffee. "Looking good, Ms. R," he said after recovering, emphasizing the Ms. with a grin. The engineering floor fell silent as Nico made his way to his office. Someone whistled, not mockingly, but the kind of appreciative whistle usually reserved for different circumstances. "Damn, boss," Luis from the CAD department said. "You clean up nice." "Language, Luis. We're professionals here." But Nico smiled at the comment. Richard appeared within an hour, face flushed. "Nico, this is getting out of hand." "How so? I'm wearing professional attire as specified in the policy. The makeup is part of professional grooming for women in business settings. Would you tell Grace or any other female employee that wearing makeup is inappropriate?" Richard's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "This is different." "How?" You're not..." "Careful, Richard. Think very carefully about your next words." Richard retreated without finishing his sentence. An email appeared an hour later, summoning Nico to a meeting with HR that afternoon. The HR director, Patricia Chen, sat behind her desk with a carefully neutral expression. "Nico, thank you for coming. We need to discuss your recent choices regarding professional attire." "Of course. I assume there's no issue with my compliance to the dress code?" Patricia shifted uncomfortably. "Technically, no. However, we're concerned about the disruption to the work environment." "What disruption?" "My team's productivity is up 8% this week. I have the metrics if you'd like to see them." "It's not about productivity. Some employees have expressed discomfort." "Interesting. Could you specify which employees? I'd hate for anyone to feel uncomfortable simply because a colleague is following company policy." Patricia's eye twitched. "Nico, we both know what you're doing here. Following the dress code that was implemented to maintain professional standards. Nothing more, nothing less. The policy wasn't intended. Are you suggesting the policy should be applied differently based on an employee's gender? Because that would be discriminatory." The meeting ended in stalemate. Patricia couldn't articulate a violation without venturing into legally dangerous territory, and Nico refused to budge from his position of technical compliance. Over the following weeks, his presentation evolved gradually. The makeup became more refined as his skills improved. He added jewelry, simple stud earrings after getting his ears pierced one weekend, a delicate silver necklace, a watch with a slimmer band. His nails, previously bitten short from stress, grew out and received clear polish during a lunchtime manicure. "You're getting good at this," Grace observed one Friday, admiring his navy blue nails that matched his skirt. "Practice makes perfect, though I still can't walk in anything higher than these 2-inch heels." Give it time. Rome wasn't built in a day. The brown hair that had been closely cropped for decades began to grow, first just shaggy, then long enough to tuck behind his ears. He experimented with styling products, creating subtle waves that softened his features. 3 months into his new presentation, something shifted. The deliberate provocation had become routine. Getting dressed in the morning no longer felt like donning a costume, but simply preparing for the day. The heels that once challenged him now felt natural. Applying makeup had become as automatic as shaving had once been. "You seem different," Grace commented during one of their regular lunch meetings. Different how? More comfortable. More yourself, actually. The observation stuck with him through the afternoon. That evening, standing before his bathroom mirror to remove his makeup, Nico paused. The reflection showed someone who appeared polished, professional, put together. The stress lines that had creased his forehead for months had softened. Despite the corporate turmoil, despite the uncertainty, the person in the mirror looked content. His phone buzzed with a text from his daughter in California. "Dad, Mom mentioned you're going through some changes at work. Everything okay?" He stared at the message, unsure how to respond. His ex-wife must have heard through the suburban grapevine. News traveled fast when someone bucked convention. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Just adapting to new corporate policies. How are the kids?" "They're good. Justin made the soccer team. Emma's learning violin. When are you coming to visit?" "Soon, maybe over the holidays." "Great, I'd love to see you. Whatever's going on, just know I support you, okay?" The simple acceptance brought unexpected tears. He dabbed at them carefully, not wanting to smudge his mascara even though he was about to remove it anyway. Month 4 brought new challenges. The company's financial situation worsened, and layoffs began in earnest. Entire departments disappeared overnight. Yet Nico remained, protected by the legal minefield his presence created. Firing him now would invite scrutiny the company couldn't afford. "They let go half of purchasing yesterday," Luis reported during a team meeting, "but we're still here." "We're essential personnel," Nico replied, crossing his legs smoothly, a motion that had become second nature. "Our projects keep the lights on. Stay focused, deliver quality work, and we'll weather this storm." His team nodded, seemingly unconcerned that their leadership came from someone in a coral dress and matching lipstick. Performance mattered more than presentation, though Nico had to admit his presentation had become impeccable. The hair that had started as an awkward growing out phase now reached his shoulders. He'd learned to style it in a professional bob that framed his face attractively. The brown color caught hints of gold in the office lighting, especially after he started using a shine serum Grace recommended. "You need a good cut," she announced one day, studying his hair critically. "My stylist is excellent. Want me to make an appointment?" "Why not? In for a penny, in for a pound." The salon visit marked another turning point. Surrounded by women discussing their lives while getting their hair done, Nico felt oddly at home. The stylist, Marie, shaped his brown locks into a flattering, layered cut that moved naturally when he walked. "You have great hair," Marie commented, running her fingers through it. "The color is gorgeous. Is it natural?" "Every bit of it." "Lucky you. Most of my clients would kill for this shade of brown." He left the salon feeling transformed. The professional cut elevated his entire appearance from man in women's clothes to simply professional woman. The distinction mattered more than he'd expected. At the 5-month mark, with retirement almost within reach, the universe threw a curveball. The company announced a merger with a larger competitor. New management would arrive within weeks to evaluate all personnel. "This changes everything," Richard said during an emergency department meeting. "They'll be looking to eliminate redundancies." "Or recognize talent?" Nico countered, voice pitched slightly higher than it used to be. Another gradual change he'd barely noticed happening. "We have the best efficiency metrics in the company. Let the work speak for itself." The new executives arrived on a Tuesday, touring the facility with the intensity of predators surveying territory. Nico watched from his office as they made their rounds, clipboards in hand, expressions unreadable. Wednesday morning, a knock on his door interrupted his project review. A woman in a sharp black pantsuit entered. Diane Morrison, the new VP of Engineering. "Ms. Rossini, I'm Diane Morrison. Do you have a moment?" The Ms. caught him off guard, but he recovered smoothly. "Of course, please have a seat." Diane settled into the chair, studying him with intelligent eyes. "I've been reviewing your department's performance. Impressive numbers." "Thank you. I have an excellent team." "Leadership makes the difference. I've also heard interesting things about your journey here." Nico's spine stiffened. "Oh?" Relax, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to evaluate talent and determine who moves forward with the new organization. She leaned back. Tell me about your projects. They spent an hour discussing technical specifications, deadline management, and team dynamics. Diane asked sharp questions that demonstrated deep understanding of engineering principles. Not once did she reference appearance or presentation. I'll be honest, Diane said as the meeting concluded. You're exactly the kind of leader we need, someone who delivers results, despite adversity, who stands by their principles, and who clearly inspires loyalty in their team. I appreciate that. One question, though, and feel free not to answer. Do you prefer Ms. Rossini? The question hung in the air. Over the months, he'd grown accustomed to the title, to the presentation, to the daily routine of being perceived as female. What had started as strategy had become, what? Identity, comfort, truth? Yes, the answer came without hesitation. Yes, I do. Diane smiled. Good to know. I'll make sure HR updates your records accordingly. After she left, Nico, no, the person who'd been Nico but was becoming something else, sat quietly in the office. 5 months of living this way had changed more than just appearance. The reflection in the computer screen showed a professional woman with shoulder-length brown hair, subtle makeup, and a confident bearing, but deeper changes had occurred too. The anger that had driven the initial decision had faded, replaced by something unexpected: peace. The daily presentation no longer felt like rebellion, but simply like getting ready for work. Shopping with Grace had become a cherished ritual. The compliments from colleagues felt genuine rather than mocking. Knock, knock. Grace appeared in the doorway. Heard you had a visit from the new brass? Word travels fast. Good meeting? Very good, actually. She wants to keep our whole department intact. That's fantastic. We should celebrate. Drinks after work? Sounds perfect. That evening at a wine bar downtown, they toasted to survival and transformation. Grace raised her glass of Merlot. To malicious compliance that became something more. What do you mean? Oh, come on. You can't tell me this is still about sticking it to corporate. Look at you. You're glowing. When's the last time you even thought about going back to pants and ties? The question prompted honest reflection. When had the performance become reality? When had he become she in her own mind? I don't know if I want to go back, she admitted quietly. Then don't. Life's too short to deny who you are. But I'm almost 60. Isn't it too late for this? She gestured at herself. I transitioned at 45. Best decision I ever made, even though it cost me my marriage and half my family. But you know what? The people who matter stuck around, and I finally got to be myself. They talked late into the evening, sharing stories and experiences. Grace offered resources, doctor recommendations, and most importantly, understanding without judgment. The final month before retirement passed in a blur of productivity. The merger proceeded smoothly, with Diane proving to be an excellent leader who valued competence over conformity. The dress code that had started everything was quietly retired, replaced by simple guidelines about maintaining professional appearance. On her last day, the engineering department threw a surprise party. The break room overflowed with colleagues past and present, all gathered to celebrate not just retirement, but transformation. Speech! Louise called out, raising a plastic cup of champagne. She stood before the crowd, smoothing her burgundy dress, a new purchase for the occasion. 6 months ago, I thought I was fighting for survival. I was angry, desperate, and willing to do anything to make it to retirement. What I didn't expect was to find myself along the way. Heads nodded around the room. Several colleagues wiped away tears. You all could have made this journey difficult. Instead, you showed me acceptance I didn't know I needed. You saw me for who I was becoming before I saw it myself. For that, I'm eternally grateful. Richard approached after the speech, looking uncomfortable but determined. I owe you an apology. I didn't understand at first, thought you were mocking the system. But watching you these past months, you weren't rebelling, you were becoming. Thank you, Richard. That means more than you know. The party wound down as evening approached. Grace helped carry boxes to the car, the detritus of a 30-year career reduced to a few banker's boxes of personal items. "So what's next?" Grace asked as they loaded the last box. "I don't know. For the first time in my life, I have no plan." "That's not a bad thing. Plans can limit us. Sometimes you need to just see where life takes you." Standing in the parking garage where this journey began, she reflected on the strange path that led here. What started as malicious compliance had revealed a truth buried under decades of assumption. The retirement she'd fought to protect now felt less like an ending and more like a beginning. Her phone buzzed with a text from her daughter. "Dad, I saw the pictures from your retirement party on Facebook. You look amazing. Can't wait to see you at Christmas. The kids are excited too. Emma wants to know if you'll teach her about makeup." She smiled, typing back, "I'd love that. Fair warning though, I'm still learning myself." "That's okay. We can learn together. Love you." "Love you too, sweetheart." The drive home took her past familiar landmarks that somehow looked different now. Or perhaps she was the one seeing differently. The person who'd parked here 6 months ago in jeans and a t-shirt, angry at corporate bureaucracy, had evolved into someone unexpected. At home, she stood before the bedroom mirror, beginning the evening ritual of removing makeup and changing into comfortable clothes. But tonight she paused, studying the reflection. Brown hair fell softly around her face, styled in a way that felt natural now. The dress flattered her figure, the modest heels lengthened her legs. But more than the external changes, her eyes held a piece that had been absent for years. The closet told the story of transformation. One side held the remnants of a previous life, pants, shirts, ties gathered dust. The other burst with color, dresses, skirts, blouses in professional cuts and flattering shades. Shoes lined the floor, from sensible flats to the 4-inch heels she'd finally mastered. Each piece represented a step in the journey from desperate strategy to authentic self. Her laptop chimed with an email. Diane Morrison's name appeared in the sender field. "Congratulations on your retirement. I wanted to reach out with a proposition. We're establishing a new diversity and inclusion initiative, and I could use someone with your unique perspective as a consultant. The position would be part-time, remote work possible, focusing on creating truly inclusive policies that go beyond surface compliance. Interested? Let's talk. Diane." She read the email twice, then laughed. The universe had a sense of humor. What started as exploiting a poorly written policy might now become a career helping others navigate similar journeys. The next morning brought new rituals in familiar patterns. Shower, skincare routine, makeup application with practiced ease. But instead of choosing office attire, she selected a comfortable sundress in soft yellow that complemented her brown hair. Today marked the first day of whatever came next. The doorbell rang as she finished her coffee. Grace stood on the porch, holding a gift bag. "Happy retirement. I brought bubbles for mimosas and a little something to mark the occasion." Inside the bag, wrapped in tissue paper, lay a silver necklace with a butterfly pendant. "It's beautiful, Grace." "Seemed appropriate. Transformation and all that." She helped fasten the clasp. "Plus, butterflies don't go backward. They can only move forward with their new wings." Getting philosophical on me? Maybe a little. But seriously, I'm proud of you. This wasn't the journey you planned, but you embraced it with grace. They spent the morning on the patio, sipping mimosas and planning future adventures. Grace mentioned a support group for women who transitioned later in life, if she was interested. There were doctors to consider, legal documents to update, conversations to have with family. "It feels overwhelming," she admitted, watching butterflies dance among the garden flowers. "Take it one day at a time. You've already done the hardest part, accepting yourself." That afternoon, she composed a reply to Diane's email, expressing interest in the consulting position. Perhaps her experience could smooth the path for others, making corporate environments truly inclusive rather than merely compliant. As evening approached, she video called her daughter in California. Her grandchildren crowded onto the screen, full of questions and excitement about Christmas plans. "Grandma, your hair is so pretty," Emma exclaimed, using the title naturally. The word sparked joy rather than correction. "Thank you, sweetheart. Maybe we can braid each other's hair when I visit. Yes, and paint nails. Mom's terrible at it. Hey, her daughter protested, but smiled. She's not wrong, though. We're all excited to see you. Mom. Another first, another acceptance. The conversation flowed easily, covering school events, soccer games, and holiday plans. Her son-in-law appeared briefly, offering congratulations on retirement and complimenting her appearance without awkwardness. As night fell, she sat at her vanity. When had the spare bedroom become her dressing room, removing the day's makeup with practiced motions? The bare face in the mirror looked different than it had 6 months ago. Softer, more at peace, more herself. The journey from desperate engineer protecting his pension to confident woman embracing her truth hadn't followed any map. Each step had led naturally to the next, like a path revealing itself only as you walked it. The brown hair that had grown from stubble to styled locks marked time better than any calendar. Her phone displayed a text from Luis. Ms. R, the team misses you already, but we're happy you get to be yourself full-time now. Enjoy retirement. Similar messages had arrived throughout the day from former colleagues. The acceptance she'd found in an unexpected place gave her hope for the broader journey ahead. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Doctor's appointments to schedule, legal names to consider changing, family members to have deeper conversations with. But tonight, she felt only gratitude for the bizarre series of events that had led to truth. The dress code that threatened her security had ultimately freed her. The malicious compliance that began as strategy had revealed identity. The retirement she'd fought to reach now felt less like an end and more like a beginning. In the closet, she hung up the yellow sundress and selected pajamas. Soft cotton in lavender, another small pleasure discovered along the way. The person who'd worn ratty t-shirts to bed for decades had evolved, inside and out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.